Friends, last year I did a kitchen remodel, and I'll take you on a little tour of it here in a moment. Anyway, during this remodel, I was the designer, so I got to choose everything and lay it out, and we knocked out a wall. It was a really huge project. It took us 7 months. So it starts out with this refrigerator, very cool. It's got hot water, cold water, and ice in the door. Go over to the induction range, and if you've never used induction, it is vastly superior to gas. One thing you can do with induction is you can actually cool the pot. Also installed a pot filler, and this microwave is also a convection oven. Then we have this beverage center for wine and drinks, and this dishwasher is completely silent. You cannot hear it run. All of that is the cafe line from GE, which is their top of the line. This here is my 150-year-old redwood cookie that I made into a table. These bow ties are 1/2-inch thick aluminum. I made them in various shapes and had them powder coated to match the table base. This built-in shelf here is actually the doorway to my pantry. And that's a nice addition to have. And then we have the wet bar, and I didn't show it on camera, but those lowers are actually uppers, and I built brackets to stand them away from the wall. That countertop is concrete that I poured, and they're also up off the floor 6 inches. My robot vacuum cleaner parks underneath that thing. Anyway, I wanted a sink of a particular size, and sinks that size only come with 1.25-inch drain holes, so I had to enlarge it myself. Now that last part with the sink, if you've been around the channel a while, you may remember that, and I'll leave a card up to that project enlarging that hole in the corner here. Now the way I had to do that was make a wooden guide that would drop down into the hole that was there for the 1.25-inch drain pipe. This is a brand new abrasive wheel, and this is made for porcelain. It's clear from the tour footage that my priority was that it be cool. And I think I achieved that. But I was at a yard sale a while back and I found this. This is another sink, and the cool factor on this is just way better than the other one. But like the other one, this is made for 1.25-inch drain. So I'm going to have to do this project over again. I'm going to have to grind down into the porcelain to create a recess for the 3.5-inch bezel ring of the drain that's in there. Then I'm going to have to come in with the diamond abrasive bit and enlarge the hole. Now I found this Dayton variable speed drill press, and if the data plate that I have currently removed can be believed, that spins at about 400 RPM at its lowest point, which is pretty good if you want to do some grinding on porcelain. One of the interesting things about it is the recoil spring is broke. I do have the replacement, but I can use this to my advantage. The weight of that quill is not too heavy. It's probably just enough to apply the right downward pressure on my abrasive wheel. So I've glued the basin down to a piece of wood. There you go. Now, we'll install our high-tech. Now we'll install our high-tech abrasive wheel. That chuck is going to need a bath in evapor rust. Then we'll apply some lubrication. Some WD, and let's try it. Something I don't like, that thing's not spinning true. The problem here is there's nothing to keep this abrasive wheel in the middle. So what I'm going to do is make a bushing to go in there to center it. So the hole in this disc is 7/8 of an inch. That's a pretty common size. Rather than make that bushing, I'm going to just run down to the hardware store and see if they have one in stock. So what I've done is I went and got a twist lock backing pad, and the reason I bought this is because the outside diameter of that aluminum area is 7/8 of an inch. And the inside is 1/4-20, which is the thread of my spindle here. And also, at some point, this masonry grinding disc got a little chip off it. So I got a new one of those as well. Okay, now I cut that down and that looks pretty nice. Let's see if how it works. Okay, so I ended up pulling 3 of the levers off so I could get a little range of motion, and we'll try this again. So after about an hour, that started to get fairly warm. In fact, right now, yeah, it's really warm down there. And I'm reconsidering what I should use to do this cut. I've got this, it's a diamond cutting wheel, and I'm thinking I'm going to put that on there. I need a 4.5-inch diameter circle down there that is at least a 32nd of an inch deep. The full circle has to be that. I know it's going to be deeper. I know it's going to be deeper here in the front and back because it's curved. So it hit in the front and back first, so they're going to be deeper. So the grinding disc that's in there now, even after running for an hour and a half, it's still got sharp edges on it. You know, I was worried that the porcelain was going to wear down the edges and round them over, but no, it's working just fine. Still, I think I'm going to switch to the diamond blade because I use these to turn pieces of granite into dog bowls. And I probably ought to do a video on that. I use them as grinding discs and as cutting discs, and they seem to hold up really well. So I think I'm going to switch to this. The fit there on my bushing isn't the greatest, but let's spin it up and see how it works. All right, well, it wasn't spinning so true. It was wobbling a little bit. Now it's not so bad. Could be better, but it is what it is. It ran for about an hour, started getting hot, and progress seemed to have stalled. So I took it apart to see what was going on. And here's what I found. This disc only cuts on the perimeter, and if you look closely at the blue paint, it was writing on the porcelain there and not cutting. So this disc has cut as far as it can. One nice thing about it is we now have a really well-defined outer ring. So I think we'll go back to the grinding wheel. I switched to this masonry grinding disc, and it has this protective coating on it that just does not seem to want to wear away when it comes in contact with the porcelain, and I'm reluctant to grind it off with some other method. So I found another new blade. Where this one is only 15 thousandths from the face of the diamond cutter to the body of the blade, this one is 50 thousandths. And 50 thousandths is almost a 1/16 of an inch. I think it will be enough. Okay, I think the 4th try might be the charm. I think I'm going to take these counterweights off though. Okay, so in about 5 minutes, that took most of this down, but it's still a little high right there. So what I'm going to do is jack up this end a little bit and give it a couple more minutes. So I worked on it with these for 3 hours. All I got to do now is enlarge the hole, and that's another diamond cutter. that I'll show you here in a minute. So I've got my nice uniform lip around the edge, and the bezel of my drain is going to sit down in there. Now I need to enlarge the hole. And the way we do that is with this. And this is called a tuck point diamond bit. And it will rip through this material like nobody's business. One thing it can do, if you went and watched the other video, is it can grab and drive itself off into an area where you don't want it. The byproduct of this operation is very nasty dust, and it's loud. So make sure and wear your protective equipment. Wonder if I got that on camera. Now, for reasons unknown, these two burrs decided to bend, and when this happens at 25,000 RPM, the grinder wants to jump out of your hand. Anyway, they weren't inserted as far as this new one that I got. Hopefully, if you watch this, I don't know if you could tell, but that the tip of that burr was all over the place. I think that means the bearings in this grinder are probably wearing out. Hopefully this thing don't break. Okay, so we got the metal out. Now the hole is enlarged. See, a little bit broke off right there. Luckily, it did not break into the side. But there's definitely a crack. Hopefully I can get past that. Let's see if we can get it cleaned up successfully. So using the wire wheel, I scraped off all the caulking that I had used to glue the basin onto the board when we were working with it. So we've got these black smudges, and I think that those are artifacts left from the wire wheel. In any case, they're not going to come out. I've been scrubbing on them with brake parts cleaner and a clean cloth for quite a while. But it was always my intention to paint this anyway. So now let me break out the tub and tile paint. Okay, so I'm going to paint this with this tub and tile aerosol. It's an epoxy acrylic. I'm going to do a little more prep on this with this nasty smelling solvent. Get this as clean as I possibly can. Now the reason I had planned to paint this from the start is because here where we ground out for the bezel ring, I need to grind some more of that off because there's a lip there. I need to take that off. Then disaster struck. Because it was so thin and I was applying too much force, a piece broke off the edge. Now I have to rebuild that lip. Alright, so there's the three pieces that broke out. And I glued them back together with CA glue. Now I need to figure out how to get them stuck back into the, whatchamacallit, to the basin. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a curved shelf and clamp it across the gap. Then I'll lay this in from behind and load it up with JB Weld. So I cut a piece of foam PVC because JB Weld doesn't stick to it all that great, and we'll clamp it in there with a couple of clamps. So we got a little problem here. The piece that I glued back together does not fit because there's tiny gaps in between the three pieces, and because of that it's longer than it was and it won't drop down into the hole it came out of. But I think that's going to be okay. We'll just load up that entire crevice with JB Weld and let it cure. Okay, well, there's a bunch of JB Weld holding that piece, those fragments in, and this is what it looks like from the inside. I think it's going to be good enough to be able to get a seal around the drain, and that's the main point. Okay, so I got in there with the JB Weld and repaired that breakout. This is just a sample. One thing I want to do is smooth off the JB Weld. So then we'll come in with some really powerful solvent and clean this thing up, and that will prep it for the paint job we're going to lay on it. And this tub and tile paint is really noxious smelling stuff. You definitely want to be in a ventilated area if you're using this. Well, I'm calling that a win. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Now all I have to do is install it. And if you want to see the result of that endeavor, find me on Instagram. My name there is wildman.tech. Anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions and doobly-doo below, so please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click up here to see my last video. Click over here to see something of mine that YouTube thinks you'll like. And have a good one.